Hi, my name is April Foster, and this is God's Mighty Hand, Lesson 7. We'll start this week like normal with a word of prayer, memory work, and Bible facts, then into the lesson, and finally wrap with an activity at the end. All right, so this week you're talking about, we left off with the people of Egypt, or the Israelite people leaving Egypt urgently in the middle of the night after the 10th plague. And this week we'll start with that journey. So they were most likely in Ramses when they left, which is in the land of Goshen here. And you'll point out to the kids and have them even point out to you where the land of Canaan is on the map, because that is ultimately where they're headed. And have them show you, if you were walking, what would be the shortest distance you would take to get there, and it would be this way. But God specifically did not want them to go the shortest way because it was the way of the Philistines. And if they went that way, they might see war and have a lot of turmoil and troubles and want to turn back and go to Egypt. So he was intentionally taking them the long way. They leave Ramses, go to Succoth, then Etham, and in that place is where we start learning that the Lord was leading them by a pillar of fire at night and a pillar of cloud by day. And by the time they get to Etham, Pharaoh's really realizing that he should not have let those slaves go. And so they make their way down to Pi-Hahiroth, which is on the west side of the Red Sea. And on all these, you might even have them go to the map behind you and kind of approximate where those are on that map, so that they can start recognizing those shapes and looking for those shapes on those bigger maps and realizing that they can find these no matter what map they're looking at. All right, so they're at Pi-Hahiroth, and they're encamped along the shore there, and Pharaoh sees them, and he thinks they're trapped, and so he's going to take care of that. But God had another plan, and so he used Moses to part the Red Sea, and you have all these scripture references and all these passages in your narrative if you want to have the older kids especially read those, or read them aloud to the younger kids. It's just so important for them to hear the words straight from the scripture, and so I've included those in there with a little narrative around it to help make it more fluid for those younger ages. All right, so after Moses and the Red Sea was parted, they pass through on dry land. They get to the other side, and Pharaoh's army pursues them. And it's during this time period that you'll see also in the narrative that God's making it difficult on these chariots. The wheels are wobbling and even flying off in some cases. And so this is a pretty tense moment for the Egyptian army. And then whenever God tells Moses to extend his hands again and his staff, and then the waters start falling in on the Egyptian army, destroying them all. All right, so that is where we end. Again, another cliffhanger, lesson 7. All right, so the activities for this week, you have of course, a map activity. And if you want to have the kids do this as you're telling the lesson narrative, this is a great activity, especially for those levels 3 and 4, to do while you're telling the lesson, so that they can be following along and marking these places. And then for all the kids too, we have puzzle pieces. So as you know, these get laid upside down on the table, and you're just drawing a piece, and it has a question on it. How did God guide the Israelites during the night? And so the answer would be a pillar of fire. And so that child that has this will get to place it in the puzzle. So you've just printed this off, laminated it, and kind of fussy cut it around to make little puzzle pieces for them to assemble. And then some other activities that are also included in the downloadables at the link below are activities for them to do either before class or as a take-home activity, because they're not really instructional in nature, but they're fun little things to include. And that is a maze, or 2 different coloring sheets where they can color the nighttime pillar of fire, the daytime pillar of cloud, and then the crossing of the Red Sea. All right, so that is it for lesson number 7.